Hey, it's Nicole Tompkins, Jill Valentine in the new Resident Evil 3 remake, and you're listening to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast.
The Kasanova Podcast, the #1 podcast in Hawaii, is brought to you by these contributors on Patreon. If you'd like to see more content like this more often, as well as more podcast reviews, impressions, early access releases, live streams, and original content, then consider becoming a patron today. All right, and welcome back to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and I'm coming at you with another phenomenal interview. And today we've got the honor and privilege of interviewing the one, the only, the sensational Nicole Tompkins. Now, Nicole is a phenomenal voice actress, singer, musician, and photographer. She is the voice of Jill Valentine in the recent Resident Evil 3 remake, and she starred in so many different things, from being an opening night to Under and Above, Magic Potion, and so much more. And in this episode, we're going to dive into not only Resident Evil 3 and her voice in Jill Valentine, but the breakdown of the motion capture, photography, music, the recording process, and so much more. So if you're ready to do it, I'm ready to do it. Let's go ahead and welcome Nicole Tompkins onto the show. All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and I have the true honor and privilege of interviewing the one, the only Nicole Tompkins. I'm just mind blown right now. Yo, I just reviewed your game that you were in, Resident Evil 3. You were Jill Valentine. That was a phenomenal game, phenomenal experience. Shout out to Capcom for the review code.
Thanks.
I just Nicole, go ahead and introduce yourself. Like, plug your outlets, any upcoming ventures you have, and
Sweet.
Just, yeah.
Thanks so much for having me, man. Hello, Hawaii, and all the listeners. It's awesome to be on. Yeah, I'm Nicole Tompkins. I hang out on social media a lot at Nikki Lee Tompkins. If you want to come say hi, I'm pretty responsive. And right now, you know me as Jill Valentine in the Resident Evil 3 remake. So let's nerd out.
Awesome. Do you mind like giving like a brief background on yourself? Because I mean, you're not only an actor and a voice actor, but you're also, a photographer, a dancer, and a musician. Like, let's talk about it. How those experiences been so far.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, as you said, I love photography. I'm a huge shutterbug. It's one of my hobbies, and then I also do it a little bit professionally. I've taken a lot of headshots for other actors, and just fun portrait stuff. It's a passion of mine. And then I grew up in musical theater. It was kind of the beginning of my acting bug that just never quit. So I love to sing. I obviously have a passion for theater, but I also love a ton of different genres of music, and tend to just have a song in my head always. If you're someone that like follows me continually, if I'm streaming or on Instagram, like there's a very positive chance I'll just break into song for no given reason at all.
Awesome. How long have you've been into music and singing? Because I know you play guitar and you play piano as well as singing. And you have a very talent, like your voice is definitely suited towards singing as well. Like, how long have you gotten into that?
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I've been singing my whole life. I think it really just started at a young age, just being someone who wasn't afraid to sing and was always really supported in a way that artistry was valued and exciting. So I've been singing for a long time, and mostly like I haven't necessarily pursued my music personally or professionally as like, oh,
Come
here's
on.
me as an artist. I know, maybe I will, but for the most part, I've gotten to use my voice as an asset in other, films and stuff. And I've had the chance to like sing for a few soundtracks for animated movies and things like that. But usually the singing and even the guitar and piano is just been kind of for fun. I'm super open to like maybe doing more with that in the future. But right now I'm just kind of having a blast and spreading melodies wherever I go.
Awesome. And as far as like playing like musical instruments, like you do guitar and piano, are there any other instruments that you play? Are you like naturally self-taught
Oh,
or
I mean, I am an expert at the kazoo. You don't even want to get me started on my kazoo playing. No. Mostly just piano and guitar. My guitar hangs over on my wall. And I would say I love guitar, and there are many that are way better than I am. I just get on there and just play for fun.
Yeah.
And then I grew up playing piano and studying classical piano, so I've had some training in piano, and then again at this point I just use it to sing with and chord and just be playful and easy. We're just making pretty things.
Okay, so what you're telling me is what I'm hearing correctly. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So what I'm hearing is you can read music as well as play it. See, I can't read music, but if I hear it, I can play it.
No, I'm going to be totally honest. I'm just like you. I'm a totally by ear person. Absolutely. I can read music ish, but like as far as reading comprehension, I'm like a second grader. Like it takes me a minute. I got to look through that. I got to think about it, play a couple wrong notes and then play. And then there are those that literally read music and, are literature majors in reading music. That's not me. I'm like, okay, the cat jumped over the ball. Noted. Is that a ball? No. Is that a yo-yo? No, it's a ball. Okay, cool. Like that's my reading comprehension. But I've got great ear. I'm one of those people like I can hear a song once and probably sing most of it back to you.
Yeah.
My family always teases me. They're really good at like singing a melody from across the house when I'm home, just as a game, because they know they can always count on me within 5 minutes, kind of like singing it unconsciously later. So like my dad has turned that into a game just to like show off. He can just from across the house cause me to sing without like making me realize I'm doing it.
Okay, so we've got a similar family background in that sense, because like my entire family, everyone sings, everyone plays at least 6 or 7 instruments. I'm the person that's over here like, yeah, I can sing, I can play guitar, piano, drums somewhat?
Question mark?
I'm like, kind of.
I can hold a beat. I know what this stick is.
Right. It's like, I think, and it's because like growing up in like a Hawaiian and Samoan family, like it's like everybody, it's just part of the culture.
It's just like part of the culture. That's so cool though. That's like amazing. I freaking love that. You guys have so many amazing like cultural traditions that I know lots of people adore, but it's just awesome that music's like part of life.
Yeah, it's like, we had to get together as like my siblings still, because like if we go to my my mom's house, we'll go there, and then we've got this whole setup where it's like we have the drums, the guitars, the bass, and everything like that, and the mics, and for years, like when we were growing up, we used to do like a family band, before I branched off and I did my own 2 or 3 failed
you
ventures.
guys just jam.
Yeah, and it's like they'll write out, like my siblings will write out the music, and they're like, Mekel, I need you to play that. I'm like, yeah,
sure, boo.
Yeah,
Coming right up.
like I think I got it, but can you play that note just so I know what what measure to hit that in? And they're like, yeah, here, it's this. And I'm like, okay, got it, thank you.
Noted.
Well, it's crazy. I think a lot of people who may not come from like musical families, they don't understand the insanity of that. It's fun, but it's crazy all at the same time.
Totally.
So, as far as like photography and whatnot, how did you get into becoming like a shutterbug? Like, what was the?
Yeah, I'm just a lover of light.
Mhm.
I know that sounds kind of romanticized, but it's just true. I'm someone who just kind of appreciates the way light dynamically interacts with the environment all around all the time, because I
Mhm.
think there's a really kind of fun, deep metaphorical perspective on the fact that that is how we perceive reality,
Mhm.
is through light and the way it hits our eyes. And so I think that's just sort of manifested into this understanding of framing and
Mhm.
aesthetics and beauty. And I also love people. Like I'm a natural storyteller, and I'm constantly fascinated with how we interact with our environment and other people. So it just really easily fell into just loving portrait photography and capturing kind of people's essence,
Mhm.
as we go. So it started as a hobby, and it continues to be in some ways. And then I started getting paid for for some of my work, which is very rewarding. And otherwise, I'm still definitely the one that's known at family events or with friends. Like I'll just randomly always have a camera. So expect to come away with some fantastic portrait that you didn't know you needed over coffee.
Awesome, awesome. What kind of equipment do you use? Like, is there a particular brand of camera that you?
Yeah, right now I shoot on a Canon 6D, which is their lighter full frame camera. It's
Nice.
a few years old at this point. And my favorite is the Sigma 35 millimeter art prime lens.
Mhm.
It's just fantastic. So that almost never leaves my camera, but I also use a great Canon 70 to 200 for camera nerds out there. I can talk you up all day long. And then actually, uniquely, I decided to jump into shooting on a film camera on just a
Mhm.
little Canon AE1 the first
Wow.
time I went to Hawaii. I decided,
Ooh.
oh, I know, I'll just risk my entire first time going to Hawaii as a shutterbug and just shoot film. So I only took a film camera with me. It was my first time shooting, and I am so happy that I did, because I learned how to shoot on film quickly, and just like a major appreciation for kind of that way of shooting in a really beautiful place. Because I don't know if you know, Hawaii's, I don't know, kind of photogenic.
Yes, yes, yes. So what you're saying is you came out here and you didn't say hi. So rude.
I didn't know you at that point. It was a couple of years ago. Just means you got to have me back.
Right, right. Wait. No, yeah, it is. Like I know when Ruben Langdon and Mark Whitten and others come out here, like I was telling you before we started this recording, like they stay with me and then we go around to different places and they're like, let's go here, let's take some photos, or we're gonna do this, or we're gonna go hiking. Like I have this one crazy story with Ruben where we did all this stuff with Capcom and Just Cause Productions, and then we ended up he's like, yeah, I want to go hiking, because he's out, he's into like photography and videography and hiking and stuff in nature. So he went and asked like, what's the best hiking spot on Oahu? And I'm like, for best view or for?
How do I answer this?
Yeah, I'm like, that's kind of a loaded
All of it?
question.
Question
Like,
mark?
you want easy, you want the best view. He's like, oh, dude, I want the best view. And I'm like, you can go to Cocoa Head. It's okay. So let me give you like a visual of what Cocoa Head is like. So it's right next to my house. It goes, actually, I'm in between Diamond Head Crater and Cocoa Head. So it goes from like a straight horizontal, and then you hit a certain point and it just goes into a straight vertical.
Ooh.
And you're climbing all the way up to the top. It takes you probably 2 hours.
And you got to pull out, your ropes and your equipment, your
Literally.
climbing gear. But it's an easy hike.
Yeah. So he was like, he'd been all over the island, did different stuff with Capcom and whatnot, and he's like, yeah, I just want to do that. I want to throw my drone up and check it out. And then he went and did that. And I remember he got to the top. He's like, dude, this is awesome. I'm like, yeah, but you still have to come down it. He's like, oh crap. So it's like,
Where's the water slide?
they
Where's the water slide option?
they need something, because it's like when you're going up Diamond Head, or not Diamond Head, Cocoa Head, like when you look down, it's straight vertical. And it's so
Oh,
crazy because I see mothers with like their kids, with like their newborns, like strapped on them, just going up that mountain, like that hike, like it's nothing. And I'm like, do you not have fear?
oh no. I recently started climbing at a
Mhm,
climbing gym for the first time and like learning some of the techniques of like bouldering and rock climbing, and I've been really enjoying that. My boyfriend and I both learned how to belay, and so we've been
mhm,
practicing that. But I'm looking forward to the chance to like do that in the real world. I haven't done that yet, and of course now we're all quarantined, so it's going to be a minute.
yeah.
Um, but that sounds like an ideal opportunity to enjoy some very cool climbs.
So like how are you guys like dealing with the quarantine and whatnot? Is it similar to how it is here in Hawaii where people like stay home but like no one's staying home and
I think it's a mix. Los Angeles is so diverse, which is where I am,
mhm,
and it's been probably not quite the same. Like Los Angeles is so diverse, so there's a lot of people taking it very seriously because
mhm,
we are like under order to stay in our houses outside of essential services and essential workers and like
mhm.
grocery trips. So it's been a lot of just staying inside. I've gotten very familiar with my room and my house. Lots of opportunities to play video games. Hey, hey,
Mhm.
and read and just become a better person from inside.
Right?
But major shout out to all the people that are working during this time with essential jobs because
Yeah.
they're keeping the world running, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Definitely. I know like with my wife actually with her uh job, she got let go well, you know how they're letting off a lot of people, laying people off. But thankfully her job's going to take care of her and whatnot and
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
it's
that.
just one of those things where it's like I feel like a lot of people around the world, like a lot of companies, I don't feel like anyone was really prepared for this situation, and it's showing
It's
in
crazy.
spades.
It's very crazy. It's new.
Yeah,
And it's sad in a lot of ways and
yeah,
also I think important in others. I think it's preparing us. It's teaching us something, and I kind of, lovingly joked. It's bringing us all closer together, 6 feet apart.
hmm no. I definitely agree with that. One of the other things too, like you mentioned video games and even mentioned streaming. So let's talk about that. So you stream as well and video games. Like what are?
Streaming is new from being quarantined. I was like, well, if I'm playing games so much and I have so much time, because I usually run a pretty busy schedule, so it's
Mhm,
been fun to kind of get to sit back and have some time to catch up and play some stuff. I decided I might as well kind of stream and participate with other people, and it seems to be kind of a popular choice. So yeah, I've been playing Animal Crossing, like a lot of the world. Tom Nook, man, that guy's got me sunk in so much debt.
He's
And
ruthless.
oh, golly, and he's just so positive about it. He's like, "You only owe me 198,000 bells. Have a great day." Um, yeah, so I've been playing that, and then, I don't know, this fun little remake came out recently that I've, enjoyed a little bit, but I might be biased.
Yeah, and let's talk about that remake. Like, so, you're the voice of Jill Valentine, the iconic Jill from Resident Evil franchise, and that's like, what was your experience like when you found out that you got the role of Jill? Like, how did you react?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it was super, super exciting,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. Like there's nothing quite like being like, "Oh, you're gonna do this." And part of that involved going to Japan, and
Mm-hmm.
part of that, involved working here. And so it just was a lot of promise that kind of came with getting this role. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a dream, man. It's a dream to be like you're gonna get to bring a character to life that a lot of people love and is
Mm-hmm.
iconic in so many ways. And I'm going to get to bring her to life in a way that people haven't seen before. So we wanted to pay respect to the past iterations of Jill and also bring me and to the role and bring her into 2020. So it was such an honor, honestly.
And I have to ask, like, how much of you went into your portrayal of Jill?
I mean, there was a pretty strong script to start with, which was great. It made it easy to kind of access, who she is and their strong vision for what she was going to be in this game. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would say, any role I take on has got to be a part of me because it's still me doing it and reacting to these experiences. And I just had the benefit of jumping into the shoes of someone who's a badass and a trained professional and a really strong woman who also gets hurt and is in a really rough situation, but handles it like a hero.
Definitely. Like I'm a fan of the Resident Evil. Oh God, my voice, it went away. Come back.
Come back.
Right?
Come back.
It's right there in reach. Okay, I got it. It came back. It's I was gonna say, like, I'm a fan of the Resident Evil franchise, and it's so interesting to see like the evolution of the character from the 1996 original to where she is now, and like your portrayal of Jill is, it's just like you're such a badass in that role. And it's like, even with the worst of situations, like Jill's like, yeah, okay, this is a messed up situation. I'll just go ahead and say this is a fucked up situation, but I'm still gonna kick your ass, Nemesis.
Totally. That girl, she just keeps getting back up, and she has bones of iron that never break, no matter how many times she gets tossed.
Right? Like that beginning part of 3, like when Nemesis breaks in, I was like, good God. Like,
it's so intense. I will give a lot of, just all of the credit, honestly, in so many ways to just the amazing creatives at Capcom and their vision for what this was going to be, because so many people are involved in making the final product look as badass as it is.
Yeah.
And, Jill looks so cool because of an amazing, animation department mixed with an amazing cinematics department that, kind of came together to create this perfect marriage of all the motion capture and performance and facial capture that we did, and then the final crazy action-packed environment and scenario that you find yourself in as the player when you get to jump in as Jill Valentine.
Right. And it's like the other thing too is the dynamic between like Carlos and Jill is so organic and natural compared to what it was in the original. It was really, no disrespect to Capcom or anything. I think a lot of gaming from like the 90s and early 2000s, it was still a learning process of getting that, cinema quality,
I mean, I think games always evolve and are constantly evolving and have evolved so much just in the past 5 to 6 years. We have new expectations of what a game can look like and how cinematic and narrative driven a game can be. So yeah, the banter and the playfulness and kind of the ease with which Carlos and Jill talk to each other just has this quality that's natural and real and makes sense for someone like him, who speaks the way that he does. And all major kudos to Jeff Shine who plays Carlos, because he made it so easy. We had such a blast with that kind of communication, because if you read some of those lines on the page, you're like, did he just say that?
Right.
And then Jeff is able to just let those words flow out with such like charisma and warmth and ease that it sounds playful, like you understand kind of where he's coming from. And that allows Jill to be like, is this guy serious? And then be like, oh, I get it. I get you. And then get to just kind of deal with who he is in a very Jill Valentine way. And that allows the relationship to evolve, right? They come to a new understanding of each other through this crazy experience. And that's what you want, man. That's why we watch cinema and why we play games and why we love storytelling is to watch how characters, talk to each other and who they become over the course of crazy experiences that, we may or may not have seen before.
Yeah. And it's crazy to look at how like the medium of video games is like changing so dramatically from being, the arcadey experiences or the gamey experiences that it used to be to now it's full-blown cinematic, interactive movies. And it's crazy seeing like the direction it's going, because a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people who are fan of games and, even my own audience, and that's one of the main reasons I like interviewing people in the industry such as yourself, because I want to shed light on the fact that the creation of these games, there are so many people, so many different departments, so many aspects that go into it. It's more than just, seeing, oh yeah, this is directed by, case in point, like, oh, this is directed by Hideo Kojima. I'm like, but Hideo Kojima has X amount of people.
Right. There are hundreds. There are hundreds of people that come together. There are hundreds of, directors underneath him, right? That come together. Steve Kniebly did all of our cinematics direction on the mocap stage and was fantastic and a huge part of the narrative side of that. So yeah, it's such a big team. And in some ways that's so beautiful. It's so exciting. I think people aspire to organizations and teams that are massive, being able to come together and actually make something that we love, right? For all of those pieces to work. And that's super exciting. And in regards to the evolution of games and where we're at now, what's so fun is I feel like in the gaming community, it's so big. There's a space for everything. There's still a space for, the arcade style games. There's a space for retro games and older games and nostalgic games. And there's a space for crazy narrative experiences and big stories. So it's so fun because I think there's just room for all of it. And it just allows new flavors of experience for gamers to enjoy. I think it also brings new audience in too. Think of the newer gamers that are just getting into gaming, whether they're young or, actually a lot older, enjoying playing video games because they like the movie experience that they get to like play inside a movie, which is one version. And then there's the Stardew Valleys and the pixelated games that we just want to sit back and twiddle along and plant some parsnips, man.
Right? It's the crazy thing is, like, I was telling someone the other day, I'm like, this is why I love gaming. I'm like, I went from playing Dragon Ball Z Kakarot earlier this year to Doom Eternal to Resident Evil and then back to Animal Crossing. I'm like,
love it.
It is such, like, there's literally something for everyone. Like, I before we did this recording, I want to say half an hour, 45 minutes before we recorded this, like, I got off an interview with Cody Christian, the voice of Cloud in a Final Fantasy VII remake, and I was talking to him about it too, and he's like, dude, gaming and it's so diverse now that like anyone can find something to be
that
happy
they
with.
love. Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the benefits of so much content, right? There's just so much content out there, and while in some ways it's like a saturated market, like how do you get your thing to be seen or for people to be excited about it? But at the same time, there's an audience. There's a huge audience. You can find anything that you want, and that's how we create awesome worlds of fans and groups, because we get to look at each other and be like, you like that thing too? Amazing. That's so cool. Like, let's be stoked on it. And it brings people together. So as much as it's a individual experience between you and a game, of course there's multiplayer games of all kinds, but it creates a community outside too, because we can all be excited for whatever it is that we're playing or stoked on, or if we need to visit each other's islands to help each other out of debt, hashtag give me all of your bells.
I'm telling you, Tom Nook, he is the nicest, sternest deader.
He's a badass.
Yeah, he is.
We want to talk about badasses. Tom Nook, everybody.
It's like, you only just owe me so much.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a mere $3 million. It's fine.
It's like, you're so nice about it, Tom, you jerk. So like when it came to like the recording aspect for like Resident Evil 3, like, was it like something that was done with singular booths or individual booths, or was it like a round table style? Because like the banter between Jill and Carlos just seems like you guys were right next to each other when you were recording.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a mix of all of it, right? Because we did all of a bunch of the cinematics
Mm-hmm.
on a motion capture stage and a performance capture stage,
Mm-hmm.
getting all of the facial caps. So that all of that is performed with each other. We're doing those scenes together live. We're doing all the physicality.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the environments in some regards, working off of each other. So I think that definitely shows through. And then as far as the booth work, it's a mix of both. Sometimes we're in the booth listening to previously recorded performances and then
Mm-hmm.
working off of that, or we're creating something new for them to work off of. So it's a big mix of everything, and that's just part of being an actor and a voice actor in so many ways, is just the kind of joy of the diversity of experience of which you have to perform in.
Okay. Okay. And like, so I have to ask you, since you did the motion capture as well, please don't tell me you got thrown around like a rag doll the way Jill did. That was not you, was it?
Admittedly, much of it was.
What?
Thankfully, there is an incredible professional team that comes together to make it look very painful. We had many mats, and then there was
Oh.
a fantastic Japanese stunt team that did some crazy wire work,
Mm-hmm.
and like crazy stuff to watch in person. And then, my gosh, animation comes in there and then makes it look so intense.
I was gonna say, because like from when Nemesis first shows up, like the first 30 minutes of that game is just like heart pounding, like what Jill goes through. So I was like, did you don't tell me you got thrown around like that? That was crazy.
At some level, maybe not as crazy as it seems. Thankfully, we do it safely. But if you don't come out with a couple bruises and scrapes, then you didn't do a horror survival story justice.
If you mind like giving like more of like a detailed back, blah, I can't talk, comeback voice anyway, if you don't mind giving like a detailed breakdown of like the motion capture aspect of Resident Evil 3, like what is that like? I know you guys have to wear like typically the black jumpsuit with the white balls or motion capture balls on it.
That's it. That's the whole experience.
Really?
No. Yeah, no. For for those that kind of don't know what performance capture or motion capture looks like, it is
Mm-hmm.
such an alien experience in so many ways. It's incredibly technical, and there are so many teams that are involved in making something like a volume work to
Mm-hmm.
capture exactly what they're looking for. You'll have people that are specifically on the facial capture, right? If we're doing full performance capture, all of our facial movements, our expressions, the way our mouth moves is being captured with a camera that's like attached in some way to your head
Mm-hmm.
via a helmet, which has its own lights. So it's like acting with a camera attached to your head full time, right below your
Mm-hmm.
eye line. So that's unique for people that
Whoa.
haven't done that before. And then, yeah, we're freaking in wetsuits with balls and we look awesome.
Because like when I first saw it, no lie, my first thought was back to you remember like Super Mario Bros. 3 where Mario had like the frog suit. I was thinking like it kind of makes me think of that. I know it's completely random. Don't judge me. But,
Hey, not at all.
but
Yeah, it's kind of Velcro center. That's what I think a lot of people don't realize. We're
mhm.
covered in Velcro, so it's a lot of sticking to things.
I was gonna say, isn't that like chafing and uncomfortable?
You know what? They're pretty comfortable, actually. You
Oh.
you ask a lot of mocap artists, that everyone has their own regime for what they want to wear or not wear under the suit.
Hmm.
And I think that's personal to every artist.
Okay. Okay. What was some of the, when you were recording lines for Jill, was there like a voice direction for that? Did they want you to have like certain inflections, or was it just, hey, here's the lines, you go ahead and do what you do best?
Yeah, I mean, we have an amazing, director who's there through it all,
Mhm.
and Capcom is constantly listening because they have, obviously final approval and such a strong vision for what it's going to look like and
Mhm.
what it's going to be in the game. So I think the typical recording is you have lines, you throw something at it based on the context that you've been given.
Mhm.
You wait and you listen, and either they come back and they're like, perfect, nailed it, moving on, or it's like, hey, actually, this thing's gonna be shoving its tentacle arm down your throat. Can you just add a little bit more of that into the line? And then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, great, definitely, will do.
That visual though.
It happens.
Was it like for you? Was it like a challenge to become Jill, or what were some of your favorite or fun moments voicing the character?
Oh gosh, I think it was just a ton of fun.
Hmm.
Challenging aspects is in some ways just like paying respect to her strength and
Hmm.
constantly checking in with the fact that she's a professional, but she's a real person, and this is the apocalypse in her world. So
Hmm.
how would you react to this? How would you react with bravery and also reality of what's terrifying and what hurts and what's scary? So
Hmm.
all of that just provides so many opportunities for colors and flavors and expressing different I guess emotional complexities of this character, which I think a lot of people are appreciating from this game, is just seeing Jill in a new way with new levels of depth that I think the script really facilitates.
Yeah, and like I know, some folks have said like they're shocked at how calm the character Jill is in a lot of the situations, and I'm like, well, within the context of the story, this is not her first rodeo dealing with,
No, I
you
mean, the
know,
game picks up after all of the mansion incidents. Like,
yeah,
she's already been through a lot.
yeah,
And I love that they explore in some ways kind of her PTSD of that,
yeah.
right from the get-go with her nightmares and the things that she's still struggling with. It creates a reality to see, heroes struggle, and we relate to that. And I would be lying if I didn't say that dying by fire as a death scream wasn't challenging. Like, that's challenging on anyone. By the way, can you go ahead and give us a death scream where you're burning alive? Oh yeah, sure. How many you want? Yeah, like 4 to 10. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
What did that?
Just know that every time you get caught by a zombie or hurt or pulled over or knocked over, I sacrificed an intense effort from my throat.
I was gonna say, like, did that not kill your voice? Like,
You just drink lots of hot tea and you have a supportive team that knows how to space out effort noises. It's part of the video game industry. Ask any video game voice actor. We all know what an effort session looks like.
wow.
Just picture this. Imagine going to work every day and all of the people that you're around, whether that's 50 people or 10 in a booth, all
Hmm.
of the people that you're with are stoked to be there. Like, you're talking about people that are also fans of what
Hmm.
they're doing. Like, going to a work environment where every single person is excited to be there that day, there's
Hmm.
nothing like it. And that's something that I think a lot of people would agree is so rewarding about working in video games.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see how like the the field of being in the video game industry or being a voice actor in video games has evolved like within just the last 20 years itself. Like it went from 'cause I was talking to Richard Epcar before about that, and he was saying how it's changed so dramatically in the last 20 years to like now it's like people are aspiring to be that, whereas before it's like there wasn't a clear cut path to get into voice acting.
Totally, absolutely. I think again, as games have evolved, right, into demanding more narratively complex
Hmm.
performances and everything else, there's more space for all of these amazing artists to come in and lend their talent and their acting and their skill to those stories, and there's just an increased level of like respect and value placed on good performances.
Hmm.
And I think that's really cool. It's really, obviously I'm coming from a performance side, so the more people are excited about fantastic performances, the more we're able to jump on board and be like, wow, like I'm getting to lend something to a story that I'm going to be really proud of. And that's something I love about the evolution of where games are and where they're going is just the lifelong history of what it means to do voiceover.
And one of the things, like, I'm gonna say this, and we'd be like, you guys need to give Nicole, an Oscar, and they're gonna be like, that was a video game. Damn it, go watch the performance. It was that good. Give her.
Thank you.
Give her an Oscar for
gosh,
that.
you're so kind. Oh my goodness.
So
Well, we have like game awards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Video game industry's got some pretty sweet voiceover awards and stuff like that. So we'll give some credit to the fact that there's some amazing talents that have received some fantastic recognition that's super well deserved. So I love seeing that. I just love the more we like value and support and get excited about the artists that are just one wonderful piece in the amazing puzzle of these games that we enjoy.
Definitely. And winding down to the last couple questions, that being completely respectful of your time, and I thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to come here. One of the questions, like, I wanted to ask about, since we didn't touch on it earlier. Well, we touched on it, we walked around it, we stared at it like a hungry lion, but we didn't dive into it. And that question is about theater. You've done theater and film for years now. You've started productions from opening night to Under and Above to even Carolyn and the Magic Potion. Like, walk us through this journey and some of like the highlights and the fun aspects of it. Like, what is the thrill? What does it feel like, being on stage or filming and being on film? Like, how is that?
Totally. Yeah. I think those are, you just named 3 very different projects that are all different aspects, from cinematic feature films to an animated kids movie. So yeah, I think for me, I'm someone who loves the opportunity to get to play regardless of the medium. So I have such a love and a heart for stage work, because I started in musical theater, and also some of the best writing for actors comes from fantastic plays. So I always say to any actor, regardless of what it is you want to pursue, from voiceover to film to theater, like, make sure you're reading plays. You have no excuse to do anything but read plays, look at some of that material, work on that material, because that kind of material gives you the opportunity to grow and to get better. Work on material that's more challenging or at a higher level than you even feel that you're at, because that's how we get better and find new dynamics of life. So I'm a huge advocate for reading plays, and that's definitely where my theater passion comes in. And then film, my goodness, will always be at the top of my heart, because I love the cinematic experience, right? It is that combination of permanently capturing something that we get to relive over and over again, using light and story and performance and cameras. Like, it's magical. It's everything that I love. So each one has its, positives and things that you absolutely love. I think one of the fun things you'll get into if you talk to other motion capture artists is we constantly kind of had that conversation of like, wow, the mocap stage is this perfect, like, harmonious environment in between theater and film, because there's such a cinematic side and such a technical side of where the cameras, the fact that it's capturing everything and how important the movements are and where you place objects and how we're reacting to something that's not there. And then also the theater side of we're doing full scenes, and the vocal performance is important. It has to be dynamic and exciting, because that has to translate through once all of your performance gets, copied into this animated version. And as we progress, like in the technology, the performances are able to be interpreted better and better, which is super exciting. So yeah, the being on a mocap stage is like having, I don't know, I guess your heart in theater and your soul in film, or vice versa. You just have a little bit of both with you. And I mean, could you ask for anything better?
Right? Awesome. And one other thing, like I've come to find out about you, like you are very much a strong advocate for, anti-bullying. And that's something, for myself, I'm also very passionate about that. I'm also into like raising mental health awareness as an ambassador for Safe in Our World, which is a proponent in the video game industry about raising awareness in video games and
Oh,
or
that's
raising
awesome.
mental health awareness in video games.
Yeah.
I worked with Safe in Our World, who also got to work with the late great Avicii. So
Right.
walk us through this. Like, what has you as passionate about it and wanting to bring attention to anti-bullying?
Yeah, it's anti-bullying, it's mental health, it's just health as people. How can we
Mm-hmm.
be kinder to each other? How can we recognize that every single person has immense value, whether they know that or not?
Mm-hmm.
So I just tend to be a lover of life in general and a lover of people. So I have
Mm-hmm.
an immense empathy and compassion for seeing people as the best version of themselves regardless of their mistakes of the past or otherwise, and wanting them to see that too.
Mm-hmm.
So from the perspective of bullying, my goodness, it's just seems so obvious. How can we be supportive of each other? Because support and love is what causes us to grow as a society, as a
Mm-hmm.
culture, as a people. And cruelty and throwing each other down
Mm-hmm.
only brings us down as well. I think sometimes, uh, as damaging as bullying can be to the victim, it's
Mm-hmm.
incredibly damaging to the perpetrator as well,
Yeah.
because it's always just a reflection of their own insecurity or their own brokenness. And I, in many ways, have empathy for that too. How can we support and change the bullies and be stronger people so that no one feels like a victim? And I think that's important, shedding victim mentality and finding our strength and
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to compassionately communicate with each other. It's all about learning to communicate from a place of wholeness. And I love that. It's something that I think is just really present in my life. And I'm constantly, obviously, like a super positive person.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see me on social media and otherwise, demanding messages of just being good to yourself and
Mm-hmm.
finding new ways to grow and become a better person. Because what else are we going to do with this time? Let's be awesome, guys.
Definitely. You know what? I know this is the first time we've, I guess met or electronically met or met anyway. I have to say you are don't mind my French. You are a fucking awesome person. Like I'm loving what I'm hearing and just getting
Oh.
to understand like, how you think, how you operate. Like it's really, really, really great. And I, yeah.
Right back at you, man. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. It's really cool to get to come on and be excited about video games and fun stuff and levity and also be passionate about what, feels like it has weight and incorporate that and be full of joy and I don't know, excitement.
Right.
Let's nerd out and be excited, man. I love the enthusiasm.
And the final question before we go,
Hit me.
what advice would you give to fans in the audience here, that would like to either, get into voice acting or get into film or get into theater? Like what advice? Like if you had,
Sweet.
you know,
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be three parts of advice because I
go
can't
for
help
it.
myself.
Go for
The
it.
one thing I would say is constantly never stop growing. That was a
Mhm.
double negative. But find ways to learn, read plays, get in classes, practice, create, work hard, and also give yourself a break. Be
Mhm.
proud of yourself. Give yourself rewards for baby steps of achievement. Set
Mhm.
goals and work towards them. Know what you're doing every day. If you want to do something and you're passionate about it, know what you're doing to work towards that goal every single day, because that's how you're going to get closer to it. The next thing I would say is everyone's path is so incredibly different.
Mhm.
There's no one right way. And know that. Be excited. Know that you're on a journey. Just because you aren't necessarily where you want to be or you still have a place to go, That's what life is. Imagine if you didn't have a place to go. You constantly want to always set a new goal. So you'll always find something else that you're excited about next. So just be stoked every step of the way. Be proud of yourself when you fail or you put up a scene or you work on something and you're like, well, that was bad. Don't judge it. It wasn't bad. It was simply an indication of ways to become less blocked or more connected to what it is that you're saying. And the third part would be, if you're passionate about it, don't give up. Find positive mentors, find positive voices in your world, and find people that spark your creativity and your inspiration. Know that it's always available to you. There's infinite ideas, there's infinite opportunities. And while sometimes they feel more difficult or out of reach than others, recognize that anything's possible. So, be passionate and be patient, and let failures never be failures, just feedback.
Awesome. And I lied. I actually have one final question for you.
Go. Give it to me. Let's go.
All right. Did you have fun?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I've had a blast doing this. I had a blast being Jill. I'm having a blast listening to the lawnmower outside my quarantine window because my neighbors seem to want to mow their lawn literally every other day because they have nothing else to do. I'm having so much fun.
And with that being said, people, you can catch this episode of the Kasanova Podcast on all available outlets. You'll be able to catch it on in video format on YouTube down the road, as well as Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. And for exclusive and early access to various podcasts and interviews and whatnot, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Nicole. And with that being said, Nicole, is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we go?
Just a big thank you for everyone that is been excited and sent me such positive messages. Thanks so much for having me. Kasanova Podcast, you're simply amazing. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
And with that being said, people, this is Nicole and I. We are signing out. You have a great one.
Much love.
Hey, did you enjoy this episode of the Kasanova Podcast? Well, I'm sure you did. And since you did, and you're wondering where else you can find it on every podcasting outlet. Yes, that includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Launchpad DM by Podcast One, and so much more. And the only thing I ask of you is if you truly enjoyed it, even if you didn't enjoy it, please leave a rating and tell us what you thought of it, what you like, what you didn't like, and everything in between. And also, if you're looking for video formats of this podcast and many more, you'll be able to find them on youtube.com/MikelCasanova, as well as on twitch.tv/MikelCasanova, and new episodes every single Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, that being said, this is Nicole Casanova, Hawaii's favorite YouTuber. I am signing out. You guys have a great one.